be eloquent and well spoken and say everything that I want to say, and that my battery won't run out. Fingers crossed. Okay. Hi. Hello. Welcome to the Solo Sanctuary podcast. My name is Maya, and I hope you could actually hear me when I said that. Okay. Hi. Hello. My name is Maya, and welcome to the Solo Sanctuary podcast, where I will be your sanctuary for the next hour or so in this little digital realm of ours, where I, as your host, would like to curate a space where we can be comfortable and open with each other, share our thoughts and feelings. This is truly like an open diary in which I will be sharing my many thoughts and musings from my own personal experiences and ruminations. This is truly a podcast for like introverted, melancholic people. I feel like that kind of describes the essence of who I am in 3 words. 1, 2, 3. Hey, I didn't study math, okay? But like the origin of this podcast, to be honest, I've been thinking about this probably for years at this point. I like to talk to myself. I have a lot of things that I'm like one of those people whose Finsta was just like hours long stories that nobody responded to and nobody said anything about, and yet I still posted them for like the 5 people that followed that page because I have a lot to say. So I've been like rolling around the idea of starting this podcast for years, and then thinking of a name and jotting down topics, like things that I wanted to discuss. And like my mom has told me that I would be good for this, so I guess here we are. And also my therapist. So if anything, blame her. She's not even my therapist anymore, but that's a story for another time. But like Miss Marsha, I probably shouldn't say her name. If you see this is your fault. Because she told me that I was funny and I felt validated. And here we are like 3 years later. This is my 2nd time, I think, trying to record this episode, because the first time my camera battery died and I didn't say everything that I wanted to say, and I have a lot of things, as I said, that I want to talk about. But really, like, the first episode, I truly, which is like, I feel like this is a heavy topic to start on, but I'm like, this feels like quintessential to who I am and like what has shaped me, and like the reason why I have so many things to talk about and nobody talked to. Nobody to say them to. Hey, I'm not devoid of fault, okay? But still. But like the first topic that I've been thinking about lately, also just because of like what's going on, that I wanted to talk about is like, hold up, before we get into the first topic, because I forgot. I have to like get my thoughts in order. One of the like things that inspired this podcast, also like this idea of a solo sanctuary, I am encouraging parasocial relationships with this podcast. Just kidding. Unless, like, I want to be truly a point of comfort for people that are like me, like sad introverted people, like people who cry on their birthday, like people who lose parts of themselves in the winter months, people who what's the people who both fall in love easily and not at the same time, people who wholeheartedly devote themselves to their friendships and then subsequently end up heartbroken. Just kidding. Unless I'm not kidding that much. But like the quintessential feeling of this podcast that I really want to like encapsulate, like let's do a mini visualization exercise. If everybody, let me get my ASMR voice. If you could please close your eyes. Close your eyes. Picture this. You're in a car with someone. Why am I closing my eyes? With someone that you're close to, be that a family member or your best friend or a partner. And you're sitting in this car and suddenly it starts raining and you've arrived at your destination and it's raining super hard. The water's coming down. It's pounding on the windows. And you're thinking, okay, let's just sit here for a second on this street or in this driveway and wait for the rain to slow down. But then you end up sitting in this car for hours talking about like whatever thoughts are coming into your head or some deep memory that you have from when you were a kid, and you end up like opening up to yourself. What? Opening up to this person in a way that maybe you haven't in the past, or maybe you have because it's someone that you're totally comfortable with. And then I want you to take that feeling and I'm bottling it up into a little bottle and I'm giving it to you so you can experience it a little bit in this podcast. Like, that's the quintessential feeling. I need to stop saying that word. I feel like it's the third time I've said it already, that I want to capture here and then give it to you. And I hope I can be sort of like that person, even though I might not be hearing your perspective. I hope that by sharing my own, I can sort of, comfort you in your own experiences, and maybe you'll relate to them as someone who might be like me, or maybe you'll not like me at all and I might give you like a new perspective. Like that feeling that I just described, you can open your eyes now. That experience is something that I had probably like at this point maybe 9 or 8 years ago. Something like a memory, like my memory is awful, but that memory has stuck with me like so firmly, like the feeling of that experience with my mom. And mind you, it was not a fun conversation. Actually, it was really bleak and depressing, what I was talking about and the ways in which I was opening up to her in that moment. But it was still like so, it felt like so pivotal that it's like stuck with me to this day. So I really want to sort of give that here. But anyway, back on track to what I was saying. I really wanted to share that memory because I'm like, super important for what I want the essence of this podcast to be. Also, I need to stop moving my hands. I feel like I can't not talk with my hands, but it's actually gonna be so annoying. But the first topic that I really wanted to touch on, because I've been ruminating on this so much lately, because my family, we were planning like a family reunion. But what I really wanted to talk about is like that feeling of being somewhat of an outsider or an outcast as like a first generation immigrant. So like context, I am Dominican on my mother's side and Salvadorian on my father's side, but I was born in the Dominican Republic. I most firmly align myself with, not align, but I'm more firmly rooted in the Dominican aspects of my person because I was born there, because I really don't associate myself with my father. Hey guys, trauma for another time. I grew up with my mother, her family, so that's really the side that I'm connected to. But I immigrated here to the United States when I was like 5.5, and I grew up here pretty much my entire life. So I'm very much like Americanized, but I've always felt like I'm still an outsider here, you know what I mean? And that's like a feeling that I've like battled with a lot, especially now my family's like planning a reunion, and me personally, I haven't been back to the Dominican Republic in 12 years now, which is really crazy to think about, but I haven't been back there in so long, and I know that like going back there is gonna be like one, such an amazing experience, but also like heartbreaking in ways that I can't describe. I'm gonna try to describe them, but it's gonna be hard. Excuse me, my mother just called me 1,000,000 times. Welcome to the life of a Latina, okay? Enough. You're gonna slowly watch the sunset, and then the light is gonna disappear, and I don't know what this is gonna look like, but we're gonna see. As I was saying, okay, immigrant, guys, a first generation immigrant. It's like, it's really weird because I feel like this constant battle where I don't feel Dominican enough, but I also don't feel comfortable like in the United States. Not that I feel uncomfortable, it's just like there's always going to be aspects of myself that feel it's like trying to fit a puzzle piece into a puzzle that's ever evolving and changing and altering its shape, and I'm just like, girl, where do I fit here? It feels like, I don't know, the puzzle that fits me as the piece does not exist, because it's like I'm a complete amalgamation of the two cultures, which I know is not a unique experience, but I just want to talk about those feelings because I know I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way. I'm trying to find community here. I'm trying to find comfort, guys. Let's be there for each other. Me, okay, but I grew up in like a predominantly, white area. There's pretty much no Latinos where I grew up most of my life here in the United States. And like as a kid, I wasn't one of those kids that spent their summers in DR. And because I came here when I was 5, right? It's just like my perception of like DR is totally different than like my cousins who came here when they were like 16 or even like 9. Like it's totally different, right? They have like vivid memories of being there, or like of people that lived in my like abuela's neighborhood, which is stuff that like I have like vague, memories of when I lived there, the times that I went there after we moved here. But it's very much like, when you think back of when you were 5 years old or younger than that, the memories are all sort of foggy, where you're sort of like, is this perception that I have or this memory that I have even real, or is it just like this thing I made up in my mind from like the snippets that I remember, you know? And just like the way that you experience culture and like society as a whole when you're a kid, like a little kid, is totally different from like how I would experience it right now or like as a teenager, because everything that you're seeing is, you know, subject to the influence of the guardians or the family that's, you know, guiding you by the hand through it. Like, it's totally different than whatever perceptions you're forming of those things, of those people, those places as a teenager. You know, it's completely different. Like, I have vague memories of like people that lived in our neighborhood or like came to my abuela's house when I was there, or like going to the colmado to like buy stuff with her. Like, very vague, you know what I mean? But when you're, because you don't have like your perception of people or like even of society, of existence, is like very, what's that over word that I'm looking for, like superficial when you're a kid. Like, you just go about life doing things, you're playing around, everything's sort of a game. But then once you grow, like really grow up, you start forming your own opinions about things, about people. You start actually like forming associations and context of the things that you're witnessing. Then it's like totally different. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes my cousins or like my other family members will mention people that like lived on the same street as us, or like in the same city as us, like my hometown, right, where I was born and everything. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't know who that man is. He could be walking past me in the street, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm sorry. And that feels like, you know, it feels not embarrassing, but there's something about it where it's just like, it's like when you're in your group of friends and they're all making a joke about like a situation that you had to miss because you couldn't hang out that day, and then you feel a little bit like a loser, and you're trying to like follow along in the conversation and like laugh when it's funny, but like you don't really know, and then you're there like, oh, I feel awful. It's like that, but all the time is what it feels like. And also, I think because like, you know, because I grew up in an area that's predominantly white people, it's like when you're a kid, even like as an adult, when you're in an environment that's unfamiliar to you, you are like, to some degree, setting parts of yourself aside to, in order to like assimilate to the environment that you're in, to be accepted by your peers, whether that be in like a working environment or like in a friend group, in school, like all of it. And I feel like that happens to like a higher degree when you're an immigrant, because then it's like the choice was made for you, be that by your parents or whatever circumstance, that you were moving to this country and leaving behind everything that you've ever known as a young kid, to be thrust into a new environment, a new country with a new language, with new culture, with new norms and practices that you know nothing about. And you just pretty much are forced to come to terms with that as young as 5 or 6 years old. And you know, even if it's, because to me, I'm like, I don't recall ever, I wasn't bullied as a kid. Thank God for that. You would think I have been the way that I act, but I'm just like, you know, you subconsciously set aside parts of who you are, the things that make you your own unique individual. You set that aside, even if it's subconscious, in order to be accepted by people, especially your peers in school, because they're the ones that you spend the most time with, and they, you know, start to shape you more than your family members as you grow up, because you spent more time with them than you do with like your parents, for example. And it's like, I remember when I first came to this country and I like refused like vehemently to eat American food. You know, I mean, we have all kinds of food here, but I was just like so used to like the Dominican diet, like rice, beans, meat, like plantains, like I was like, no way am I touching this other stuff. Like, it was so foreign to me, and I like refused. Like, I would lay down like screaming and crying on the floor to my mom if she tried to feed me something else. And then I was just like, slowly, gradually, you start to lose that because you realize that like doing this is not serving you in any real way. But it's just like, you know, it's really sad to think about how we have to do that. And I know, you know, people have had it worse than me because people are like bullied for the type of food that they bring to school. I can't remember that. My memory is really bad, so hey, it could have happened, but I don't remember that. And I know people had experiences of like feeling bad, of, you know, people bullying them for the food they brought or like what they look like. I'm somebody who's like fairly, you know, I'm white, you know. Nobody, I mean, I didn't speak English when I first came here. I thank God every day for my ESL teacher, the GOAT, because I learned that so quick. I mean, as a kid, you acquire language much easier than you do now, but it's like sad. And like now when I think about it, I'm like, how many parts of myself did I subconsciously set aside, like who I was as a kid, in order to feel like accepted by my peers here? And even then, like, I don't. Like, I'm very much American in my mentality, I guess, my behavior, I don't know. Also, like, I'm very introverted, which feels almost antithetical to what a Dominican person is. Like, girl, you gotta get me like wasted, and then on top of that you gotta drag me onto the dance floor because I'm shy. I don't want to do it. I feel self-conscious, and it's like, and then that also, that being that way that I am in that way also makes me feel like a stranger. Like when I think about going to like my second cousin's house and being surrounded by loud music and like people drinking and like food, like in a hypothetical situation, it sounds like a good time because I know I would have a good time, but at the same time I feel like when I go, everyone's just staring at me and being like, oh, she doesn't belong. That's what it feels like, and nobody does that to me. Like, if anything, I make myself that person. I make myself the little freak sitting in the corner. And I'm just like, I don't know how to not be that. Hey, work on your self-esteem maybe. But I just feel like so shy and awkward and uncomfortable. Like I don't belong in every place that I am. I've always felt that way. And I feel like it's so rooted in that, in like not feeling American enough and also not feeling Dominican enough. I'm sorry to El Salvador, but I don't know you like that. Like, even the way that my Spanish sounds, I feel like is indicative of how separated I am to some degree from my own culture. And like, I'm never gonna not identify with being Dominican. Like, that's me. But like, even when I speak Spanish, like other Spanish speaking people, unless I'm in a group of Dominicans, like my Spanish is not gonna sound like that. That's, I guess there's more like, probably more Mexican people around here, like Latino wise, than anything else. So my Spanish sounds more like that, you know what I mean? Like, Dominican Spanish is totally different. You know what I mean? And that makes me sad also a little bit. Hey guys, everything makes me sad. I don't look Dominican. Not that Dominican people have a certain type of look, but I don't know. I try to be polite. Also, I also feel scared when I speak Spanish that it's not good enough. And like, to the people that are first generation immigrants, some of you may not have learned Spanish, whether your parents didn't teach you or what. It's okay to be a no sabo kid, but I encourage you to make the effort to at least try and not lose that aspect of yourself, or like gain it if you were never taught it, because like that does, like, try to be as connected as you can to your culture, like your parents' culture, especially in the time of now. Like, you already had to lose so much of yourself because the way that some people act in this country try to make you feel like you have to lose parts of your culture in order to fit in here, and you don't. Like, that's not what this is about. I'm not trying to tell any of you like you need to let go of your culture or your mother tongue or any of that in order to be American, because there's no solid one way to be American. Like, America is very much a melting pot, and it's the best thing about this country, and you should never lose that, but it's okay to like feel sad, to feel burdened by the fact that you were almost forced to let go of that it's never been made like okay to fully be, whether that be Dominican or Mexican or Cuban or even Asian or African. Like, you're not allowed to embrace all aspects of who you are as an immigrant and also be accepted as an American. Not true. Because Americans are all of that. We are all of that. And that's the best part of being in this country, is that you can be that. You can be all of those things. You can speak any language. You can practice any religion and still be welcomed here. That is literally the entire point. But it's okay to be sad about it. Or like, I think it's okay, and like, I have to work on my own feelings of inadequacy, of feeling like an outsider, because I feel like oftentimes I make myself be that more than anything else. Like, nobody else is pointing at me and being like, no habla español, oh my god, o sea, sí habla español, but you know what I mean? Like, nobody's pointing at me like, she's a loser, she doesn't know how to dance, no sabe bailar bachata. O sea, sí sé bailar bachata, sí. My Spanish doesn't sound Dominican. I gotta, like, ¿cómo te digo? ¿Qué lo que? Like, that's not me. I don't, like, it is me, but it's okay, guys. There's no way to be totally one thing. You don't have to exist in extremes. It's okay to be introverted and Dominican. It's okay to shy away from the dance floor. It's okay to not speak Spanish and still identify with your Latin roots, but maybe make an effort to be that. I don't know. I just, like, I know there's like more that I wanted to say, and I'm losing it now. It's the second time that I recorded this video, but I don't know, guys. It's okay. Guys, it's okay. Don't, like, especially now, don't feel pressured by like you have to erase every memory of that you have of your native country in order to be accepted here. You should never let go of that. Like, the people that want to push the mentality that in order to be American you have to be a specific way, you have to only speak English, you have to be as patriotic as possible to this country. It's really hard to be patriotic right now, the way that they're pushing the things that they're pushing. But like, I do feel pride in the fact that I'm American, except like, I'm American in my way. You know what I mean? Like, people on the right side of the political spectrum think that they're pushing like real patriotism because they're defending like in their minds the original roots of Americanism. But like, you're not, girl. Americanism, is that a word? I don't know, I'm making it up, I'm using it now. Americanism, like, girl, it's rooted in acceptance, in the acceptance of people who are persecuted like all over the world. It's rooted, to me, in the concept of multiculturalism. Like, that's the point. If you're persecuted in another country for being who you are, the place that's supposed to accept and embrace you with open arms is the United States of America. That is the reason why this country was formed. And although it may have been formed through violent acts that should never be forgotten, that is the entire point. So to try and now like fall back on like, no, we gotta protect the real American people. There is no real American people. That doesn't like encompass everyone that's already here, and the people who are yet to come, who are chasing the same dream of building a better life for themselves and their families. Like, unless you're Native American, you have no real claim over this land than anybody else who wants to be here. Me telling myself I wasn't gonna get political on that first episode. Really impossible when you're talking about immigration. And I know, like, I have it so easy. Here I am complaining in the comfort of my home about how I don't feel like I'm enough. First world problems. There are people truly suffering and being persecuted for who they are in this country. And like, you know, I have it easy. I'm complaining about how I feel like an outsider. But, you know, I'm always gonna feel solidarity and empathy for the people that are actually struggling and having it hard. But I just never want us to forget like the real importance and value that like immigrants have to this country, you know? And it's just sad the way that they're trying to villainize that right now, because it's truly what makes this country the most beautiful thing that it can be. Like, if you ever travel to another country that's like more homogenous, that's what makes me miss like being here. That's the one thing. I'm like, here we have access to every culture, to like everything. Like, you go here, it's like a neighborhood full of Dominican people. You go there, Chinatown. You go here, Little Tokyo, whatever. Like, that's literally the best part of being here, is that you get to see and bear witness to the lives, the cultural practices, the experiences, the food of, you know, the globe. It's here, access in one place, big as it may be. You go to another country and you're like, they just got one. They just got one. And you're like, you're missing out. And then like they look at you like you're crazy because you're not like them. We cannot become like that, guys. That's the best part of being American. And I feel like I'm getting off topic, but like, that's really it. Like, that's what we have. That's the one thing we can lay claim to, that we should be patriotic about as Americans, is that we got everyone here. We don't have anything else. We don't have healthcare. We still got poverty and homelessness. What else do we have? That's the only claim we got. And now we're trying to go back on that. Like, I don't know, what are we doing? I feel like I'm getting off topic and we're getting onto something else, but like, it is really like so important. We need to keep that in mind. And now the lighting is totally different. I'm purple. Also, like, this, sorry, I off topic, really serious topic, and I'm like, but look at how evil and sinister Pom Pom Pudding looks right there. Love that. I really love that. I don't know how long this is because I had to cut it since my mom called me, but I don't know how I wanted to wrap this up. And I feel like I missed some things that I wanted to say. Maybe I'll put like clips from the first episode that I recorded. My computer. Sorry. Into this, because I know there was like some good stuff that I wanted to include from there. Also on this topic. But I really just like, this is the first episode. I have a lot of other notes on like things that I want to talk about. So we'll see. But I just like, if you made it to the end of this video, please like leave a comment, because I really want to see like what anyone who actually gets to this video, if this video reaches you, if this podcast reaches you, if any of these feelings and experiences resonate with you, please leave a comment. I will read them and I probably will respond. I'm so encouraging of parasocial relationships, you guys. Like, we are friends. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me, but we're gonna get to know each other. And we're gonna be besties in this little digital realm that I'm creating for all of us, in this little sanctuary that I want to curate for you. But I will leave you with that. Please comment. I will respond. And yeah, have a good night. Bye.